that we stand by the Palestinian people, that Britain respects its historic obligation to the region, and that this government will do everything it can to help safeguard both states, the State of Israel, as well as the State of Palestine.
The UK government looks set to recognise the State of Palestine. What state? What borders are they recognising Gaza, East Jerusalem and the West Bank as being the Palestinian state? I'd be interested to know. This is Keir Starmer, who has described himself as not necessarily a Zionist, but a supporter of Zionism. And I believe he is a member of the Labour Friends of Israel. A Zionist once told me that if you are in favour of the two-state solution, then you are by definition a Zionist, because one of those states will be the Zionist state, the Jewish state, Israel. And the UK already recognises Israel, apparently. But what are they recognising? Because have Israel ever actually defined their borders? What are the borders of Israel? We've got is it called the Green Line? The 1967 borders up to and not including, as I said, the West Bank and East Jerusalem or Gaza. Yet you've got settlements in East Jerusalem. East Jerusalem seems to be pretty much annexed by now, and Palestinians who live in East Jerusalem have a different kind of citizenship. They're entitled to slightly more perhaps than Palestinians who live in the West Bank, and certainly Palestinians who live in Gaza. But what is Israel? If we're going to recognise the State of Palestine, we need to recognise what we are recognising when we recognise Israel. That's what I'd like to know. And a lot of the British patriots are up in arms about the fact that Keir Starmer, a supporter of Zionism, is about to recognise the State of Palestine. These British patriots, British nationalists, seem to imagine that it's somehow pro-British to support Israel. Maybe they're unaware that when that state was created, the founders bombed it into existence by attacking, hitting British targets and executing British soldiers. Pop it into Google, do a Google image search, and you will see the British soldiers that were executed by the armed gangs that went on to create that state. So why are you an ardent Israel supporter? I don't get it. And I've mentioned it on the channel before. One of those early founders, Yitzhak Shamir, his nickname was Michael. And I urge you to research why his nickname was Michael and who he admired. I'll give you a clue. It was a member of the IRA. If you really are a British patriot, why are you supporting this country whose founders admired the IRA? Just a question. And as we recognise the Palestinian state, I want to know what are we talking about here? Of course, the reality on the ground and the policy of the Likud party from that's Benjamin Netanyahu's ruling party. Their policy is that Israel will recognise control from river to the sea. I know you've heard that at the Palestine marches, but that is actually part of the Likud ruling party in Israel. That is part of their ideology. River to sea, completely Israel. So it'll be interesting to know when they recognise the Palestinian state, what are they recognising, and what are those what are the implications for Israel? If we're going to recognise one, we'll have to recognise the other, and recognise, where do you draw the line? Where's your cut-off point?